Story 1, Rainbow Connection from the Muppets. Happy tears, though. My dad used to sing it to me before bed when I was little. He wasn't a great singer, but man, hearing Kermit's voice brings back all those memories of being tucked in and feeling so safe. Story 2, Fix You by Coldplay was released when my mom died. I listened to it on the bus as I came home from work one day and sobbed really ugly all the way home, especially at the line, "When you lose something you can't replace." I had a lot of guilt issues with my mom's death, especially about how I had treated or thought badly of her before she died. Story 3, I'm With You by Avril Lavigne. Heard this song all through my teenage years, and I have cried every single time. When you feel absolutely alone and are just this close to a breakdown but try to keep your composure, you just pray for someone to come and save you, but you don't know who that is or when you will be saved. Story 4, Dance with My Father Luther Vandross. I luckily still have both of my parents, but when my grandfather passed away from cancer, my mom began playing that song here and there. I felt my own pain and hers. Rest in peace, Granddad. Story 5, Iris by Goo Goo Dolls is my sad girl song when I need a good cry, but also my happy song as well. I love hearing it, and recently I found Barton Carroll's Those Days Are Gone. Story 6, I Giorni by Ludovico Einaudi. You try playing that over a memorial slideshow or at a funeral and tell me that does not affect you and everyone there. If it does not, you are not human. Story 7, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds. Only because I lost my cat of 18 years a while back, and now whenever I hear it, it makes me think of him. Story 8, Oh Gosh. The ones that come to mind are Don't Take the Girl by Tim McGraw, Johnny Cash's version of Hurt, and the music video for One by Metallica. Story 9, What's the Matter Here by 10,000 Maniacs, about living next to an abused and neglected child. Hits me right in the feels, especially the last line, and instead of love and the feel of warmth, you've given him these cuts and sores that don't heal with time or with age. Story 10, Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones. Hello Young Lovers sung by Frank Sinatra. And the winner is Good Year for the Roses by George Jones. I cannot even think about it in public without melting down. Story 11, Who Knew by Pink. It reminds me of my auntie who was very sick at 33, and I was adamant that, since she was young, she would be fine, and they were all wrong. I miss her every day. Story 12, the live audio version of Go Home from Julian Baker rips me into pieces every time. If you've ever struggled with mental illness and substance abuse, be warned before taking that journey. It's a doozy. Story 13, I'm not religious in the slightest, but the way the composition and lyrics combine is just so beautiful to me and convinces me that this man had a genuine spiritual experience there. It fills me with hope and always brings me happy tears. Story 14, my mom told me the first time she heard this song, she had a gut feeling that she would relate it to something someday, but couldn't figure out what the feeling was or why she felt it. 2 years later, she had my sister who got leukemia twice. After she passed, my mom listened to the song again, and it hit her hard. Ever since she told me the story, I physically can't listen to the song without sobbing. It's an amazing and beautiful song, but it hits so close to home that it's hard to hear. Story 15, Snuff Slipknot. Mad World Gary Jules. Hurt Johnny Cash. Failure Breaking Benjamin. Dear Agony Breaking Benjamin. Hate Me Blue October. Congratulations Blue October. Adam's song Blink 182. He Stopped Loving Her Today George Jones. Whiskey Lullaby Alison Krauss. Concrete Angel Martina McBride. Story 16, How to Save a Life by The Fray. This is the song they played during a very emotional moment in Scrubs, which makes it even more powerful to me because I remember that scene. Story 17, Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. A good friend of mine passed away when he was 17 of cancer. We learned to play drums together for 5 years straight, and they played it at his funeral. Even now, almost 20 years on, if it comes on, I just cry. Story 18, If I could keep anything of you, I would keep just this quiet after you. People interpret it as a breakup song, but I relate to it more as a mother-daughter relationship. Story 19, There's a new part where they scream questions that the National Health Service staff will ask during a mental health crisis or checkup, and regardless of how well I feel, the memories are so intense it will make me cry. Story 20, Requiem, by Eliza Gilkyson. Written for the victims of the Asian tsunami in 2004. Mother Mary, full of grace, awaken. All our homes are gone, our loved ones taken. Taken by the sea. Mother Mary. Story 21. Fade in / fade out, nothing more. About a son seeing how his father is aging and won't be around forever. Always makes me think about my father getting older. Story 22. I Still Believe from Miss Saigon. Gotta be the original cast recording though. Lea Salonga just has a great voice. Claire Moore is great too. Story 23. Please don't make me cry. Please don't make me cry. Because I can't say goodbye. I'm asking you please. Oh, don't make me cry. Yeah, don't make me cry. Life is too short. Then to throw away all the precious things that we shared. So please, please, honey, don't make me cry. Please don't make me cry. Please don't make me cry. Because I can't say goodbye. I'm asking you please. Oh, don't make me cry. Yeah, don't make me cry. Oh, come on and please. Don't make me cry. Story 24. I cry at Otis Redding's performance of Try a Little Tenderness in 1967. It's one of my favorite songs, but I don't cry at it normally. He passed away the day after that performance, and he performs with such power. Story 25. None of them. I'm not wired that way. If I were, Breathe Me by Sia would probably do it. It's the song that plays at the end of 6 Feet Under. There's a reason that show is nearly universally credited as having the best ending of any TV show ever. Generally, the only people who disagree haven't seen it yet. I've seen most of the contenders others say beat it. They don't. It isn't even close, though I guess it depends on who you are. The ending itself is probably the closest I've come to being brought to tears by something meant to be entertaining, tragedy as opposed to comedy. Without context, the song is very good on its own merits, and the music video is incredible and unique. It may not make you cry, but it's absolutely worth watching. Also, Sia is a lot of things and has become a lot of things since this song came out. This is just a good song. Story 26. Maybe not the song itself, but the arrangement and interpretation by Signature is really tough for me to listen to without crying. Signature. Dance with My Father, barbershop version. Story 27. Mother Love. It's only really sad if you are a Queen fan, but it has me bawling. It was Freddie Mercury's last song. Before recording the end, he went home because he was sick with acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Then he died. The last 2 lines are what really get me because Freddie wasn't there to sing them and Brian May had to. Story 28. I had a similar conversation with my grandfather the night before he passed away, as the artist describes in the song. A ton of issues stacked up, and we had to magnetize his pacemaker because it kept shocking him as his health was failing, which I would guess is incredibly painful. We knew turning it off would be the end. The last time I saw you, I cried. I wish you had more time left. Always gets me. I remember saying those words while also crying, knowing this was it. He was so strong even to the end. Frankly, I look back on it now and I'm somewhat ashamed because I have all these great memories with him that I will treasure as long as possible. But it somewhat sounds like maybe I wanted more or didn't value the memories I made with him growing up. Obviously, that's not how I feel, but hopefully he didn't feel like that in his last moments. Ultimately, it represents an important time for me as a man, growing up and reflecting on what's important. Then Machine Gun Kelly released this song a few years later. The lyrics are just eerie in a good way. Quite cathartic. Story 29. I lived in Texas working with horses for a bit. I would frequent a local town on the weekend, have a few drinks by myself, and watch people dance to the live music. One night, a very handsome southern young man asked me to dance. I didn't know how to two-step, but he didn't take no for an answer. We danced all night. I didn't learn anything about him, and I don't even remember his name, and we didn't even exchange numbers. I just remember slow dancing for hours with my head against his chest, and I especially remember this song. I don't know why, but I can't listen to it without getting tears in my eyes. Story 30. Wonderful, sung by Gobi in Over the Moon. I try to listen to it joyfully, but it gets me every time when he sings, "Do you ever feel afraid? Curl up when you are hurting, and hold your memories tight to you." Story 31. For Baby by John Denver. My mom sang it as a lullaby to me and my two brothers. All three of us played that at the mother and son dance of all of our weddings. I now hum that song to my baby son when soothing him to sleep. Story 32. All of these songs. Kyle Hume, If I Would Have Known. Awaken, I Am, The Stages of Grief. Wage War, Never Said Goodbye. Dream on Dreamer, Tell Me Why. 3 Days Grace, Lifetime. The Fray, How to Save a Life. The Fray, You Found Me. Too Close to Touch, The Fear of Letting Go. Too Close to Touch, Control. Simple Plan, Gone Too Soon. Jussie Smollett, Good Enough. Story 33. I hope I'm not too late to get this one in there. Even thinking about it makes me cry. Read the lyrics and tell me you survived. I won't believe it. Story 34. Supermarket Flowers by Ed Sheeran. I got sent this after my mother passed by a caring friend, and I literally broke down in the store crying. The process of moving on from grief and getting rid of the flowers and letters was so hard for me. Story 35. You Are the Reason, Got to Be It. By the way, a few years ago, when I was a small lad, I was able to finish that entire long note in one breath while always having low lung capacity, and I was really proud of it. Story 36. Generic male answer. Nutshell from Alice in Chains. To actually connect emotionally and mentally and be in that place to cry every time you hear it. Deadly Dull by Movements, The Attendant by Make Them Suffer, Freddie Mercury by Onslow, Anything from Counterparts, Laughing My Ass Off. Story 37. It plays after one of the endings of Life is Strange, and the emotions that the game brought, followed by that song, really made an impact on me. It's one of my favorite games of all time and resonated deeply with me, and so did the ending I picked. Now hearing it gives me a lot of those emotions again, and I love it because it feels like I'm there all over again with such a bittersweet connection to an amazing game. This was before we got any more of the series and didn't know if there would ever be more either, so it felt like a solid ending. Story 38. Evanescence, My Immortal. My best friend and I used to listen to it on repeat. She spent 4 years messing my mind up. Whenever it is on, I still think of her and how much I loved her. She turned me into a horrible person when I got away from her. Story 39. Father and Son by Cat Stevens. Also, oddly enough, Marry You by Bruno Mars, only because I first was exposed to this song by that awesome proposal video that guy made to this song. I can't help but smile and tear up when I watch or hear the song. Story 40. On Eagle's Wings. Not sure who wrote it, played traditionally in the Catholic Church, especially at funerals. Just thinking about it makes me tear up. Story 41. Almost Blue by Chet Baker. The words enter the song only at the end but perfectly portray what the melody of the first minutes suggests. I love it, from the lyrics to the tonality. Story 42. The Crow and the Butterfly by Shinedown. I don't really want to go into why, but it reminds me of a brutally sad moment in my history. I was finally able to listen to it without crying, finally, 14 years after said event. Story 43. When I Look Into Your Eyes by The Most Happy Fellows. My dad was a barbershop singer, and every time I hear this song, I envision him singing his heart out with a huge grin on his face. He passed away in 2001, and I miss him every day. Story 44. Forever and for Always, Shania Twain. Used to make me cry when I was like 5 years old since I didn't fully grasp the context of it being a romantic song, but I applied the general meaning of the chorus to how much I loved my mom. It still gets me a little bit just remembering my tiny innocent self all those years ago. Story 45. Sounds corny as heck, but it was my last real best friend's and my song because it mentioned her birthday. Then, she became really toxic when she got involved with an 18-year-old when we were 13. I tried to explain to her how creepy that was, but of course, she didn't listen. Now we're 17, and she hates my guts and uses everything against me. Every time I listen to that song, it just floods the last few good memories I've had with a real friend. Story 46. The feels, man, especially that part. But I keep drinking since it makes me feel like I'm not alone. Try it, my alcoholic friends. Story 47, Hilltop Hoods, Through the Dark. You were 8 when we headed to the hospital. And no child should face their death or mortality. You taught me patience, strength, and morality. And I'd have borne this weight instead of you happily. That night, you asked if you'd die from your sickness, and why it had chosen your life out of millions. The first time I heard it, I was tearing up, which had never happened to me before, and I needed to find out what the backstory was because it was obviously written from experience. MC Pressure wrote the song while sitting next to his son, who was hospitalized with leukemia. Happily, he did eventually beat it, and a line from another song on the same album is, "Forget cancer, my son made it through his remission." Even so, as a father of 3 healthy children, it still brings tears to my eyes.